So we're back again on Call of Duty. What was once the leading IP in the first person genre is now falling off a cliff, and this has been happening for quite some time. So recently, across the years, some publishers have managed to change the ways that they measure success on a video game, and that could be from sales to pre-sales to now how many players are interacting with the game itself. At some point during that, the developers also removed the player count on the lobbies, and that could be in the bottom left corner or the top right corner or wherever, depending on the video game. So now, on any other platform apart from Steam, you'll have difficulty finding how big the player base is. Which now brings us to Call of Duty. Call of Duty has made it so difficult to get an accurate figure on their own player count per game since they created their launcher. So each account that loads up onto their launcher to go into one of their many games they have on there, that account is then numbered as a number engagement to Call of Duty HQ. It's not listed to the game that you load up. It's not Black Ops 6, Black Ops 7 or Warzone. It's all of Call of Duty. So sure, you may see on like SteamDB Call of Duty's at 69,000, but that doesn't mean 69,000 people are playing Black Ops 7. That means 69,000 people are playing a Call of Duty game in general. So that could be 40 odd thousand on Warzone and 20 odd thousand on Black Ops 7. With Sony, Microsoft, and Activision not releasing any sale numbers for Black Ops 7, we still are struggling to find out some information. Yet we can still find some numbers on the matter with what information we can get by checking out some articles that do have some numbers to reference. So check out this article by The Game Business. And it says that Call of Duty Black Ops 7 European launch sales are 63% down over Battlefield 6. Based on our estimates, the game is also down by more than 50% over last year's Call of Duty Black Ops 6. This data is courtesy of the GSD, which tracks digital and physical copies across Europe. The data does not include download via a subscription service. Black Ops 7 is included in Game Pass subscription service, while Battlefield 6 is not. Therefore, the actual player count will be much higher. So now we're going to look at this article by GameSpot, and it says here that Battlefield 6 reaches 10 million copies sold, but it won't be enough to topple Call of Duty, analyst says. We'll get there, we'll get into that, but first let's look at the original numbers that were there on release date. So after selling 7 million copies right out the gates, that's within the first 3 days of release, EA's Battlefield 6 has now surpassed 10 million units sold. So if we do the first set of numbers and then take off the 63% that Call of Duty is underperforming from Battlefield 6, that means that Black Ops 7 sold an estimated number of 4,410,000 copies in Europe. Now, we see that on the Steam DB page that there was roughly an estimate of 100,332 players playing Call of Duty at the time of release, and that was the peak after Black Ops 7 came out. So once we remove that, that leaves the consoles with an estimate value of 4,309,668 copies sold, again in Europe. If the sale figures weren't enough to show that Call of Duty has fallen off a cliff, let's have a look at the Twitch numbers. As you can see here, this is the amount of views at time of recording that people are watching Call of Duty content. Sure, we could look at YouTube, we could look at Kick, we could look at other things that are out there. However, Twitch is the biggest platform, and right now, it's not showing high numbers. Now let's look at the SteamDB numbers. It doesn't even chart the most played games. But then if we look at the whole 3 years of Call of Duty's release on SteamDB, we can see that back in 2022, when Warzone 2.0 came out, it reached its peak. And then after that, it just declined. It went down. Then Modern Warfare 3 came out, and it didn't hit a high there. It hit the peak of 189,000. But yes, again, is that Modern Warfare 3? Or is it Warzone? How much we're on one and how much we're on the other? We don't know. Then if we keep looking and going down the list, we see that they boosted up for Black Ops 6 because the trailer looked great. It looked like it was going back to something that it once was. But over time, it gradually fell down. It collapsed. And now we're at Black Ops 7. And it didn't do anywhere near or half of what Black Ops 6 release was. Now you see some comments online, especially from some shills saying, "Oh, but it's the best multiplayer we've had." Yeah, of course it is. They've had 3 years to work on it. They worked on it for Black Ops 6, they worked on it during Black Ops 6, and they re-released it, but with a number 7 on the end. It's the same thing. And then the shills will tell you to ignore the campaign. No, you shouldn't ignore the campaign. It's part of the price you paid for. It's a content that you've purchased. And it's awful. Woods turns into a giant plant that you've got to kill. One of your teammates becomes a giant and starts attacking you. You've got to stop him. And then one of your teammates, Diverse Cyborg, comes along and Captain America's her way into saving somebody's life. If this was a sequel story to Black Ops 2, you can have it back. Depending which source of media you were looking, you could also find some articles, true or not, but stating that Call of Duty Black Ops 7 was the most played game on that platform at whatever time. However, we've got some stats from Sakana, and on the weeks ending in November the 8th of 2025, PlayStation US, the top game that was played then was Fortnite. Same thing for the Xbox US. Top game played on that end of the week was also Fortnite. Call of Duty HQ came second place, and that can mean any Call of Duty. Could have been Warzone, could have been Black Ops 7, could have been Black Ops 6. And then we go to Steam US, Steam Canada, and Steam Mexico, and all three of them were Battlefield 6. With following behind in the US was Arc Raiders, followed by the Canada, Counter-Strike 2, and Mexico, Counter-Strike 2. Call of Duty is not even on the list. So now let's revert back to GameSpot article and go over what the analysts say about Call of Duty and Battlefield. Elliott is among those experts who believe that Battlefield 6 will not beat Call of Duty Black Ops 7 this year. A Battlefield game has never eclipsed a Call of Duty title on the annual US sales chart, and that's not expected to change this year. I don't think Call of Duty is going to go anywhere near Battlefield 6 numbers, and that's because on SteamDB we are not seeing any numbers increase. Within the 14 days after launch, we're not seeing any numbers go up any higher than the 69,000 on their 24-hour peak, and it always seems to stay around there. We're also not going to see any numbers increase with Xbox because it's on Game Pass. And why would people buy the game when it's on Game Pass? Now, if you remember last year, Black Ops 6 was on Game Pass, and this year it was reported that that lost Microsoft $300 million. And that's why we got the increases on Game Pass services to make up and try and balance out this sort of day one exclusive to not buying a full game. And I don't think it's been enough to salvage what they can for Black Ops 7. The only thing that's been entertaining for Black Ops 7 has been the Replacer trailers. And even after that, you've still got these streamers, the shills, just praising and loving and hyping the game to the point where it gets embarrassing. They then defend the game and use the same numbers that we provide and say that's only a small percentage of the Call of Duty player base. And then they find new ways to cope. But then again, they are getting paid by Activision to promote the game. But it's also no hidden knowledge that a lot of people who worked on Call of Duty in the past moved on to other things. Some went and worked at Respawn and worked on Titanfall, then Apex Legends. Some people went off and worked at DICE to work on Battlefield. And the new people that came in saw how streaming affected the world of gaming, and then they decided to cater the whole entire thing towards them. I think the best thing for Call of Duty right now would be to take a hiatus and reflect on what they did so well in the past, like Modern Warfare 2's No Russia, Modern Warfare 2019's entire campaign, just showing you the dark depths of war. And compare the multiplayer from previous Call of Duties, or even compare the multiplayer from games of today, like Battlefield 6. I really hope this is a wake-up call to the whole Call of Duty development team, because I wouldn't be surprised if next year or a few months from now we find an article that says Call of Duty Black Ops 7 costed Microsoft X amount of millions of dollars again. And if it does, maybe change the infrastructure of Game Pass, lower the price back down, but take these big titles off Game Pass. Maybe have them at a discounted price for Game Pass users, or allow them to have them for an early day access. Because upping the price looked like corporate greed. Of course, you're trying to make back on money that you lost, but you just got to take it on the chin and realise you messed up. And the gamers and your core audience shouldn't have to pay the price. That's what I'm going to wrap up today, guys. Let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on what the analytics said about Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty, and if you think the game should take a hiatus. If you made it all the way to the end, I thank you for listening and watching, and until next time, take care.